So I end up having a quiet moment to myself to think about who I am and what I want to do and what I want to be and what feeds me and how I rest and how I heal from other things. And all of a sudden, everything that I'd ever been through with someone else in the room or because of someone else was flying at me, and it was all in my face because I realized why everything in my life has happened the way that it's happened. And I spend the next year having my entire life flash before my eyes in what sounds like a post-traumatic way. And a lot of it was, but a lot of it was just clear understanding for the first time. It was like I had been filming the entire time, and for some reason every time I hit play to play the footage, some weird filter got added onto the footage, so I never saw it clearly. I saw it with some kind of color haze or out of focus. So then at some point I discover this indie thing and all the memories come screaming back because now I've figured out, oh, I'm accidentally clicking this button and making everything have a colored tint and a fuzzy, hazy, soft focus process on it. So now I can go back and rewatch every memory in my life in perfect clarity. And this not only made me replay everything, but with perfect clarity and extra sharpness, all the memories seemed like they came back and they were more vivid than when I remembered them before. Because now I have all of this extra detail. So at the very time in my life when I am finally able to focus fully on me, I am bombarded with infinite memories of every interaction I've ever had with anybody else all throughout my life. Why people have responded to me, why I responded or didn't or couldn't respond in the ways that I did or couldn't. And then I also had a slew of memories just like that about me just being alone. I used to have, for instance, I would have a moment where it would be something like 2 or 3 a.m. Everyone else had been leaving me alone for a while, and I would finally decompress, and I just would be awake in pure silence in a haze, often not moving. My mind was running like crazy my mind was running behind my eyes, but my eyes would be affixed on a TV screen. I wouldn't even really be watching TV. It was like a visual stim. It was like something for my eyes to do while I rehashed everything and somehow came to some type of standstill. And that was happening when I was little, when I was a teenager, all that time frame. So then I get to this point where I'm in my late 30s, and this is happening to me again, but with sharper clarity. I realized, I don't even know how to explain it. For instance, that thing where you put on some new thing, you put on some type of makeup, your mask, for somebody else. I started to realize that was, I don't know how to explain it. It's like an institutionalized autistic thing. I always just kind of honestly am a very honest person. One of my challenges in life has been to figure out how to be honest without violating my own boundaries. Where my nature would tell anything, sometimes you just can't do that because after you learn how other people tend to react, you need to build modified boundaries to protect yourself in those situations. So while my nature was to just tell everything, I grew up my whole life wondering, with what I had been through, and I had been through abuse by people who really, really lie to a degree where everyone believes it. So every time I would find myself putting on an aspect of myself, the mask, in order to translate or to be understood, or more often than not, someone who can't control their reactions and responses, who can't choose to be kind and loving to someone else. I didn't like being mistreated and abused, so I spent all my time learning how to do what was necessary to trigger positive reactions from people instead of anything else. And so I would look at myself in the mirror and feel like I am a liar and I am a manipulator, and I have abuser genetics. Am I like this? Is that coming out? Because I knew what I was doing. It's on paper, it's selfish. I'm behaving in a different way so I can get positive reactions out of people. That clearly wasn't what I was dealing with was not about trying to somebody trying to make me feel happy and respond to them positively. It was very much not ever a part of it. But at its core, it was about somebody doing something that wasn't sincerely who they are, especially in public. So I would sit there and think to myself, flat out, I know what my motivation is, and I know I'm not trying to harm anybody. But on paper, just the bullet points, I would look in the mirror and think, I'm not being sincere. I'm changing my dialogue and my behaviors, and I'm doing it in order to manipulate different responses out of people. So I wondered if that abuser DNA had taken over me in such a way that now I was making convenient excuses about why it was okay. Obviously, I didn't want to be harmed. I would think it was okay to learn how not to be harmed. But maybe that was an excuse I was making, So I went through all of these things, and then I end up fast forwarding decades later, thinking about this stuff again and realizing what was really going on. And it was what I thought it was. I've always been that person. There are some unique things about me, and one of them is I've never been able to escape being self-aware and self-introspective. I didn't really have to get to that place or learn about it, and I know I can't be the only one, but it's been constant. It's been constant to the point where it's been an exceptionally good thing in a lot of ways, but sometimes it's been incredibly painful. When something happens and you can't stop rerunning it over and over again, and over and over again, and over and over again. You're having a good day and a good moment, and all of a sudden, boom, that thing flies back at you. It could be years or decades, and it comes back, and you're like, oh my God, I'm back there. I call it time travel, because I'm back there. I'm in that place. I'm experiencing it. It's like it's happening right now, over and over and over again. And at the time, it's just all of the time. But years later, I've learned, I've done the thing you're not technically supposed to be able to do as a neurodivergent, where you shut that down. Because that's been what I do. I learned about that. I've been on a spiritual journey all of my life, and part of what I have learned is how to shut that stuff down so it doesn't mess up my day. I still get sensations, but it can be changed, it can be affected. It's a very different challenge for those of us who have that ND capacity to replay things like that. There's been something about the whole concept of identity. I'm 41 now, and I knew for absolute certain that I was autistic when I was 36. And this whole time, I have been trying to delve beneath the mask, to take off all the layers and just stand with who and what I am by nature, and discover myself and remember myself. Like there are aspects of me that got such reactions that I hid them, and I don't know if they're coming back. I don't know if I necessarily want or need them, but I'd like to see them again. I used to get a lot of bad reactions. A lot of that might have been regional, like what I've explained before. I called it like the drop waist Bible Belt, because it was a different area and as particular people in my life, and a lot of people, family in a certain area, and that sentiment, when I say that Southern sentiment and everything. So that follows. Like, you can take the person but you can't take out of the person, right? So I still have that influence, and I grew up in that situation. And I wonder sometimes, because some people and some cultures are particularly sensitive to things that other people in other cultures are not sensitive to. When I had the responses when I was young, like I just had, because I'd had a dark sense of humor, or I would say something really off the cuff, I would be blunt, whatever it is, I got reactions like I was just the most off the chain person, and I was saying the most over the top things. But it was so early in my life. I hadn't yet developed that thing you have when someone just keeps bringing up something about you. They keep telling you it's wrong. They keep telling you to pay attention to yourself and change yourself. And because of this, eventually, you learn to do that, and you really hyper-focus in on everything that you've ever said or done and what you're saying and doing in different situations. I learned that response early on enough in my life before it became an issue. I was just being who I am. So there are some cases where I don't remember what I said or what I did, because it hadn't been made into an issue where I'd remember it forever as part of a post-traumatic memory. So I explain all of that because I got responses like I was so inappropriate and I would say such inappropriate things and have such a dark sense of humor. And I know I have a touch of that. That's part of my wit. It's just who I am. But it seems like it's just nothing like what it used to be. And I know that I hid a lot of it. I squashed a lot of it. I killed a lot of it because I needed to do that in that time frame to preserve my safety. But now that I have decided I just want to see who I am when it's just me and the mirror, I want to see it and I want to let it loose. I don't know how anymore. And no matter how I work on it, it seems like most of the time my humor is actually just incredibly appropriate, or it's got a wink and a nod kind of wit to it. But I learned that. I learned for decades how to put a wink and a nod in so people get my point, but I'm not saying anything directly. That's who I am now. And that's what's coming out now because it's been decades of training that in. So now I question, was I ever really saying anything that sharp in the first place? Or was it because those people and that family, they would travel to me and people would have reactions based on that, based on the generation thereof? Maybe they were particularly sensitive and the rest of the world is not. Because out here in the rest of the world at large, when I compare myself to the globe and everything that's going on, I'm not that intense. I don't seem to say things that are that dark. Sometimes it gets really dark, but it's so rare. And I don't get the reactions I used to get, greatly because I'm not that person in front of those people. So it just makes me wonder, was it ever really that intense in the first place? If I'm desperately trying to bring that person back, did it work? In a lot of places, I've managed to find who I am and where I am underneath the camouflage. Did it work with that too? And it just doesn't seem that intense because I'm not judging myself by their standards anymore. And by anyone else's standards, it's really not that big of a deal. I truly don't know. So every single aspect of this, as I try to discover myself, as I give myself active and constant permission to think a thought inside of my own head in privacy, rather than kind of covering it up and smoothing it out and just trying to make sure I'm not even thinking it, because it was at that level in a previous life. I was trying to make sure I didn't even think things. I was actively trying to change who I was, not just hide it, change it, squash everything. Nothing of the host could survive. So maybe, I don't know how to say, I feel like I've explained it, but I need to come up with the words, and usually they just come so I can make it cohesive. But basically what I'm saying is, at the time when I needed to discover who I am by myself in that room with nothing but me in the mirror, I found that because of the experiences, I discover this new thing of myself. It changes my viewpoint on everything. It opens it up. There's clarity, there's sharpness. And I realize as I focus inside of this room where it's just me in the raw with a mirror, it's not just a mirror. It's one of those mirrors that has photographs from every part of your life, you with different people in different places and different experiences. And so while I'm looking in the mirror, I also, in the periphery, am seeing everything that already took place. All the memories I was trying to shuck so that I could just have the pure experience of me by myself in that moment, those memories are permanently a part of this moment. Not just because I have been here in this place for decades developing them, and they have shaped my brain. Neural pathways have formed expressly to deal with what I have experienced. My brain now reflects my experiences. And when I want to look in the mirror, somewhere around 40, as a woman who's no longer defining herself as how I chose to be a daughter, or who I chose to be when I was parenting someone who should have been parenting me. And that's complex. It's not that simple. There might have been some situations where I had experiences all over the place and lots of people. Sometimes there was trying, and sometimes there was succeeding, and sometimes there was needing to be parented by me. So that's a whole other thing. Who knows if I'll go into detail? I might not want to. It doesn't feel good to think about. But in all of those moments, when I'm not that person anymore, and I choose not to think about the experience of parenting, when I never wanted to be a parent, and I so often needed the functions of a parent, I cannot not think about them, because my brain has now physically formed itself in order to keep those things in front of me. So I look in that mirror to see me, and I see pictures around all of the edges of all the people and all of the things. And I also, in the mirror, instead of seeing what I thought my body looked like before, I see this body that has these new freckle patches or whatever that make me curious, because I don't know what they mean, and I don't know if they're a good thing or a bad thing, or if they're a precursor to something or a sign of something that's already been. But they're different, and they change how I look at myself when I'm seeing only me. And I guess there are a million other things that kind of connect into this, because I'm on a very specific journey. I want to put a mention in here because there are some of us who are on a particular spiritual journey, and whatever we call it or recognize it to be, some of us have been put here. If I'm saying this for somebody, maybe you'll know what I mean. Some of us have been put on this planet to grieve. Some of us have been put here to, the different terms they use, to grieve for what could not be ended or grieved properly before, even by other people. Some of us have been put here as generational curse breakers. We are chosen ones. The weight on our lives is extremely intense, and this is why things work differently for us. It's why we've been through so much. Like, I don't tell my story and don't choose details because nobody believes it, and it's not up for debate. It's not like I can unexperience it because somebody else says that it never happened. I've been actively told in various degrees, even underneath one of my videos, someone is like, just in a passing moment, just straight to my face, yeah, you're just wrong. That's just not even the case. What you're talking about doesn't exist. And I didn't even bring up anything serious. I'm just talking about the subject of being neurodivergent, and something that was actually kind of lighthearted subject matter in that moment. And they're like, nope, you're wrong. That did not take place. And by the way, it ended well. I've left that up because it wasn't like I don't believe that was a flaming thing. I think I was speaking to another neurodivergent person who was having some complications, and so I'm not going to shut that down. But when people can have an issue with something that they clearly, even according to themselves and their context, do not even kind of understand, some things you just won't tell, because what good is it going to do anybody? I think if I thought it would do somebody some good, it would be weird for me, because my healing has gotten me to a point where I just don't have to obsess over it all the time. And in a previous life, I couldn't stop, because again, my mind would replay things. My gosh, I've got the heater on and I've just suddenly realized it's too hot. But I'm trying to say, for those of us who were put here to experience extremely intense things, where everything has been impossible that we went through, for those of us where, I say this in case people who need to hear it are listening, if you 100% know nobody could walk any amount of distance in your shoes or your life, because no matter what they think or how much they want what they think you have, they would literally not physically survive. I have said to myself, and I know it is true, you want what's for me, you would literally, why don't you try? You would die. The people who are trying to get something from one person often have no idea what it is that they're getting. It's not just, I can do this party trick. It's, but would you like to go through the training that got me to where I can do it on cue? Because it would end you. There are people who would be ended. And for those of us who know that no one we know could survive what we went through, because we barely did. We barely survived. There's an extra level of trauma remembrance to getting to somewhere in the mid portion of your life after that youthful teenage, child, teenage, young adult stage, and you're looking at something because you've discovered late in life that you're autistic and ADHD or whatever it is. And now it's not just I'm rethinking everything and I'm having memories and I'm questioning, but it's, oh my God, now I have context I've never in the whole of my life had before. I couldn't think like this before because I didn't have the capacity to have the thoughts before. A whole new layer to going back over your entire life. And when you are the person who has been put here to grieve, the things you're going back over are what grieved you in the first place. Those were the losses. That was the trauma. You're seeing things now that almost took you out in the first place. But you're seeing them with such crystal clarity that it's the pain. It's like drinking some kind of, I'm going to try to use something fake and fantastical so it doesn't sound too intense, but it's like if you're in some kind of fantasy realm and someone gives you some type of potion that's made of fire and ice and some type of electrical acid. So you feel that with each and every instance, especially when you swallow, it gets forced down and you can't get over it in your mouth because then it's in your throat, and you can't get over it in your throat because then it's in your stomach, and you can feel it the whole time it's in your stomach, and now you have to process it all the way and try to survive. When that's what your memories are like, there's something very distinctly different that we're experiencing and we're going through when we're dealing with all of that. And there's something very distinct and very different, no matter who is experiencing all of this stuff, when you're living the life of raised as a female, identifying as female, presenting as a female, when you identify yourself as a woman, and you've been through all of that in line, and there's still somebody who needs you to mother them. And I don't mean somebody who, I'm not just talking about somebody who's saying that or who wants it, like, oh, you need that from me. I mean, sometimes there's still somebody who needs that and you want to give it and you know it's a need. And so you're dealing with all of these things and you are still putting your face on. You're still hearing the knock at the door or seeing the phone, and you real quick go grab that corset so you can strengthen your backbone, because you know this is somebody you have to hold up today. And you know your back hurts and you can't keep your posture because too much has happened and you just need to lay still and work on your own strength. But you're throwing on stronger and stronger corsets because someone still needs to rest on your backbone instead. Sometimes the choice that we can live with who we've chosen to be is to give more than we have, because we know that even though we feel empty, we still somehow have more than the people who need us to give. And I guess I just want to sit here and say all of these things and wonder what it's going to be like when I go back over this and play it. It's going to be interesting to see if I even upload it, because I don't know how cohesive any of this is going to sound. I just spoke from the heart, and so I wanted to put that up, and then I wonder if it went around the world and back again. But I guess I'll find that out for myself. I'm currently replaying the thing about the tea, because I know as I say it, people are like, what, you just make a cup of tea? But some of us know. It might not be a cup of tea. It might have been something entirely different. It's not always that simple. Sometimes that's the challenge that we keep practicing and still can't seem to ace. But I'm just thinking, because this is what I've been dealing with a great deal. I've been going through different phases of grieving because there's been a lot. And we're at the point now where even science is recognizing the concept of epigenetics, right? The memory of things that took place before. And my purpose on this planet has greatly been to go through absolutely everything that broke everybody and broke me. And I've just done my best to survive. And the whole time that I've been trying to process and grieve, I still have been dealing with what I still had to deal with in my everyday. And so I get to a place right now where I don't even know exactly what I'm feeling, because I was thinking about getting a new hair color, and I'm like, yesterday or the day before, I said to myself, why is it that every single time I'm coloring my hair, it seems to come on the heels of some kind of existential crisis? And I wouldn't even call it a crisis. In the moment, I was like, it's not a crisis. I wouldn't call it a depression. At some point, I described something as existential disinterest. It wasn't that. It's more like just, I don't know, static, maybe. Or just silence. Maybe it's just existential silence. So, who knows? Maybe I'll get my hair colored. I looked at it the other day and realized I can't keep fading it. It's gone from just fading to looking straight up tacky. So now it's time for me to do something for me, because whatever is going on here, where it's gone orange, where it used to be, it was supposed to be blue, and now it's looking orange and a million different colors in the daylight. I'm actually pretty distressed about this. I can see some deep orangey redness going on. I really don't like it. So I'm gonna get myself some existential hair coloring, and if this video even goes up, there's probably going to be more of it coming up just in general conversation, because it's been a part of everything that I do and everything I've been experiencing. And I'm just processing how, when I thought I had downtime a few years ago, it actually turned into uptime. If you got any use, like, share, subscribe, ring the bell, do all the things. That's about it. Bye now.